You know, all this chatter is absolutely incredible, but I'm actually really burnt. I'm honestly like the happiest person you have ever met in your entire life. And I am absolutely sick of all of my soldiers, including Charlie, dying so you guys can mock each other. Mock away and see what happens. I am done with my soldiers dying while everyone just mocks each other. Mock, mock, mock. You think that that's a solution? You know, every major religion speaks out against mockery. And I saw mockery. And I saw a mob just energized with mockery. Absolutely laughing. This is John Oliver. This is Matt Walsh. This is Louder with Crowder. This is all the mockery that's existed on both sides of the equation. And it's killing my soldiers, my people, and I'm done. I don't want to see my men die anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm sick. I didn't see Charlie die. I stood up. My soldiers stand up, I stand up. And I'm not apologizing for standing up. I did what I was trained to do.
Democrats are getting exposed and canceled across the country, and what's happening behind the scenes is worse than anyone expected. From government offices to college classrooms, careers are collapsing overnight as shocking behavior comes to light. Teachers, public servants, and political figures are being fired not quietly, but in front of the entire nation. This isn't speculation, it's happening right now, and the backlash is only growing. The headlines may not tell you the full story, but what's being scrubbed online reveals everything. If you're tired of the lies and ready for the truth they want buried, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is the side of the story they never wanted you to hear.
The event opened with music, people throwing hats, and loud exchanges from different parts of the crowd. Some shouted offensive remarks directed at the LGBT community, while others made disparaging comments about the Prophet of Islam. There were also cheers, boos, and offensive hand gestures, mockery. The atmosphere carried an energy of confrontation more than dialogue. The first debater tried to persuade Charlie to adopt Mormonism, but the exchange drifted into a disjointed back and forth of opinions. The audience eventually booed him off the platform. Another speaker raised the idea of restricting gun rights for transgender individuals. Citing Donald Trump as an influence, he began to reference statistics and posed a question. Charlie's response turned to the subject of gang violence as a part of the mass shooting statistics. At that point, I did not see what happened directly. My head was lowered while I listened. When I heard a sharp crack, at first I thought it might have been fireworks or a disruptive prank, so I looked up to the horizon for smoke. When none appeared, I realized it must have been a firearm. My friend reacted in horror, saying Charlie had been struck. His voice and description told me how serious it was. Based on his reaction, I believed Charlie had been gravely injured. I instinctively checked the security team's movement, though I have no affiliation with them. Realizing the situation was dangerous, I stood and shouted USA, not as a provocation, but to project strength, encourage others, and create a distraction that might help calm panic or even save lives. At that moment, no one knew whether this was a lone shooter or something coordinated. My friend was devastated. He admitted he admired Charlie deeply. I only knew Charlie through minimal content, but would never wish to celebrate harm to anyone. Because of my background as a soldier, I was able to stay calm under stress, focus on protecting and comforting my friend. Afterward, I called my wife to let her know I was safe. Once traffic eased, we left.
Professors fired for celebrating assassination. Across multiple universities, professors are being terminated after making appalling remarks about Charlie Kirk's death, with some calling it karma, or openly mocking the tragedy. These aren't anonymous Twitter trolls, they're educators shaping young minds, and their institutions are now under public fire. In one case, a tenured professor with over 20 years on the job was escorted out after screenshots surfaced. And here's the shocking part, many of these posts were made within minutes of the announcement, showing just how entrenched this ideological rot has become. These weren't isolated cases, the pattern stretched across more than 5 states. But what most people missed was how far this cancel wave has already spread beyond campuses and into government offices. The next breakdown reveals that. The line between educator and activist has officially blurred, and students are paying the price. Public officials losing jobs over online comments. More than a dozen local officials, including city council aides, public school employees, and even a firefighter, have been suspended or terminated for posts deemed insensitive or politically inflammatory regarding the event. A fire captain in a major metro was terminated within 48 hours for replying "good riddance" under a public thread. These are not fringe voices, they represent institutions funded by taxpayer dollars. The real concern? Some of these posts were made on private accounts, yet their employers acted instantly, bowing to online mobs without proper review. In some cases, no hearing, no inquiry, just immediate termination. It raises a serious question. Are we witnessing accountability or political purges disguised as justice? But wait until you hear what's happening in the tech industry. That's where things take a darker turn. When public trust erodes this quickly, we all feel the collapse. Silicon Valley employees silenced and fired. Tech giants aren't just flagging content, they're firing their own employees for privately questioning the narrative. A software engineer at a Fortune 500 firm was reportedly fired after sharing a WhatsApp message that asked, "Is it okay to question what happened?" Screenshots from private group chats were leaked, resulting in instant termination. These aren't isolated cases. At least 4 companies in California have reportedly revised internal policy this week, alone banning employees from commenting on the situation, even outside of work hours. The new rules aren't written, they're enforced silently through fear. Free speech isn't just under attack, it's being wiped out in real time. But what comes next will hit even closer to home because it's happening in classrooms where your kids are. When silence is mandatory, dissent becomes the only crime.
Ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core." Let that sink in and don't be a damn bit afraid of saying it, because that's exactly who he is.
Right now, the question is, are Republican members of Congress going not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator?
School districts scrambling to distance from teachers. Several K-12 school districts have placed teachers on leave for allegedly inappropriate statements made to students in the classroom. In one shocking report, a middle school teacher was caught praising the attacker while teaching 8th grade civics. Parents flooded the school board demanding action, and it came fast. The district released a statement and suspended multiple staff members pending investigation. One teacher had a classroom poster mocking conservative figures taken down by order of the board. These are the same institutions preaching tolerance and inclusion, yet allowing faculty to endorse violence. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't new. It's just finally being exposed. But this next revelation will make you question the credibility of some of the loudest politicians in the country. It's not just bad policy, it's moral collapse masked as education. Leaked emails from Democrat staffers go public. Internal emails from Democrat-aligned political staffers have surfaced, showing casual jokes and celebratory reactions to the incident, and in some cases, even campaign strategy discussions based on the fallout. One aide wrote, "This could boost turnout if we play it right." The leak, verified by multiple cybersecurity analysts, has triggered internal reviews in at least 2 congressional offices. Yet no public apology has been issued. Another staffer joked that the timing couldn't have been better in reference to their re-election campaign. Voters who once trusted these representatives are now asking, who are these people really serving? What's being said behind the scenes when cameras are off? These private communications paint a chilling portrait, and if you think political hypocrisy ends there, think again, because the next point exposes a stunning contradiction from the people calling for unity. What they say publicly is just a mask for what's being weaponized privately. The unity message falls apart under scrutiny. After the tragedy, many Democrats took to platforms calling for unity and peace. But within hours, their past posts resurfaced. Posts filled with vitriol, violent metaphors, and calls to fight like hell. The same officials preaching against hate were caught using inflammatory rhetoric just weeks earlier. A popular senator's video resurfaced, showing her laughing about crushing conservatives at the polls or anywhere else. Another congressman had previously joked about punching political opponents, now calling for peace. The public is connecting the dots, and it's clear. These calls for peace are performative, not principled. Voters are waking up to the double standard and beginning to push back in record numbers. But if that wasn't enough, What we reveal next is something even most insiders missed, and it's going viral right now. When fake unity is exposed, real anger takes its place.
Public figures say kind of the right thing. We're going to highlight it here. We've been doing that with the likes of Governor Spencer Cox today. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about Senator Bernie Sanders. I was watching what he had to say earlier. But then there is the backlash when public officials are fired because of the way they have responded in some cases to Charlie Kirk's murder. And yes, indeed, we have seen some of that too. So News Nation politics are powered by The Hill, and White House correspondent Alex Cantitano joins us on this from the North Lawn at the White House. So put up the headline from The Hill about teachers and firefighters, officials who are on leave, fired over their posts related to the Charlie Kirk murder. Alex, what do we know about this?
Yeah, we've seen teachers, college-level teachers that have been fired largely because of things they've put on social media, saying, you know, this is karma or some other awful statements. That's this gut reaction that they've had to the murder of Charlie Kirk. They've decided to put out there, and it's interesting. I think it's notable that these are largely university professors or people in these positions of power. That it comes, you know, they're educators. They're people that are teaching the next generation versus someone just, you know, if you go on Reddit, you'll see people's personal takes on whatever issue, and they can say anything they want, you know, when you're representing yourself. But if you're representing a higher institution or an office, you're an elected official or whatever else, you know, then it becomes this sticky territory. But, you know, I think you're right to display the positive, the things that people are saying, like Governor Cox, that is a message that we should all resonate with, versus people, you know, spewing online their initial gut reactions to things that isn't appropriate, really, once I think they take a step back and think about it.
Viral Zoom call exposes Democrat campaign staffer. In a leaked video conference, a top campaign staffer was recorded smirking just minutes after news broke, saying, "Finally, he's gone. Maybe now we can move forward." The call was supposed to be internal, but a whistleblower recorded the session and posted it anonymously. The fallout was immediate. The staffer resigned within hours, but the story didn't end there. The party quietly scrubbed all mentions of him from their official site, hoping the scandal would disappear. Unfortunately for them, nothing disappears on the internet, and users made sure to archive it all. Instead, screenshots, clips, and reactions are spreading across every major platform. Americans are realizing that this isn't about one person, it's about a political culture that celebrates silence over truth and loyalty over morality. And that's why the exposure isn't stopping anytime soon. One viral clip just flipped the script for millions of viewers.
There are words, but most importantly, we are in a job of leadership. We are in a job of action. We are in a role and a position where the American people are looking to us to do something about this. And every single day, people are dying due to gun violence. And
Charlie Kirk was more than a political voice. He was a father, a husband, and a symbol of open debate in a country that's losing its way. His life was taken, but his values cannot be silenced unless we choose to stay quiet. If you believe in truth over tribalism and courage over conformity, now is the time to speak louder than ever. Drop a comment, share this video, and stand against the noise, because silence helps no one. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. Let his legacy be the spark that wakes up a nation. What you do in the next 10 seconds matters more than you think.